You ready?
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Welcome back, eSIM Studios YouTube channel. We are live on YouTube and now on TikTok. I want to welcome everybody in. Hope everybody had a fantastic Tuesday. And we got some interesting stuff to discuss here. We got a new option. We have a new option in the US. Wow, this is big news. Normally, this would not be big news. This would fly under the radar. But today, we have a new option for US phone buyers. We will discuss. And we have a newcomer from a familiar face that's about to launch as well. So we'll discuss that. And then we will also discuss, should you even buy one of these devices? Or should you just get a 1 or 2 year old flagship device? Well, that question I'm going to propose to you, the viewer. Are you going to buy a new mid-range phone? Or should you get a, 1 or 2 year old flagship phone? That's the question I'm going to ask you today. And I want everybody to put their answer, their opinion in the comments. So let's see here. Hope everybody had a good day here. Let me pull this over here so I'm not always looking over to the left or to your right. Let's see. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for joining us today. Just got a notification that your Pixel order has shipped. So excited. Sweet. 1 out of our 2 have shipped. So yeah, ours is getting there as well. So very excited. Oh, how could I forget? We have new benchmark scores. Maybe. We're gonna discuss. It's not so bad as everybody made it out to be. And I want to get to the bigger question. Why is everybody hating on the Pixel? I want to know that. I would like to know that answer. Why is everybody hating on the Pixel? What is it? Did they not like Google? Do they just not like the phone? Do they not like the operating system? I want to know. Because in the videos that I post, I don't get as much hate as posts on Reddit or comments on Android Authority, articles on the Pixel. If you go into the comments, maybe some other YouTube videos, it seems like for every one excited comment, yay, I like this phone, or yay, I bought it, it's shipped, there's like 10 hate comments. And I'm really scratching my head, like, what is it about this year that is different from in the years past? I mean, every year with every launch, you'll see the haters down below. But this year, it's like, damn, what were they hiding? It seems like everybody has come out and dogged this phone. So I'm kind of dumbfounded as where all this. I get you're gonna get some, right? Like I said, with every phone that launches, but this one's like, whoa, where did all this hate come from? Are you getting a phone from the Pixel 11 series yourself? Yes. So my wife is getting the Pixel 11 Pro, fog color 512, and I'm getting Pixel 11 Pro XL, black 512. I just ordered mine about an hour ago. So we had hers ordered, I think, last week. I think when they launched on, Wednesday or whatever it was, she ordered hers. And then I took a while because I didn't really know if I was going to get one. And then after talking about it so much, and then I'm really excited for this modem, it's like, you know what? Let me go ahead and buy one. I kind of made that decision a day or two ago, but didn't really know where I was going to get it. Looking for the best deals. But anyways, I got that all covered, and literally about an hour ago, I just placed my order. Said shipping, it said delivery date will be August 20th. So fingers crossed, we'll have one here in a couple days, and we're going to be doing, oh man, I cannot wait, a bunch of testing. I'm going to spend, when's the 20th? It's on Thursday. So Thursday we'll do unboxing. Friday I'll probably be out doing modem testing, because that's the most highly anticipated one, at least for me. Thursday we can do unboxing and benchmarking right out the box, you know it. And then, yeah, like I said, Friday I'll probably leave the house, do some network testing, record everything, obviously, and then, well, yeah, and then we'll get it rolling. We're gonna do case reviews and all sorts of stuff throughout the weekend. So yeah, I got one for myself. I think people are scrutinizing the Pixel because of the price, primarily the limiting the battery cycles by 20% after 200 cycles, the 4-year-old ancient GPU, lack of eSIM card slot. I think you're right. I'm not going to say that you're not right, and I actually probably agree with you. I was just thinking about, and I guess that obviously is a fair criticism. It was kind of a shock to me that they lowered the battery. I've all along coming up until launch date, I got word that they were slightly increasing the battery. I guess it obviously was wrong. They slightly decreased it. Now, I don't think that's going to affect battery life. In fact, I still think your battery life is going to be phenomenal because of that new power efficient display, that new power efficient modem. I think it's going to be pretty freaking good. Now, did they raise the price? I mean, technically, they just got rid of their 128 gig model, so the entry price got higher, right? So, I mean, lack of SIM card slot, yeah, that sucks. I get it, but does that warrant people saying like F Google? And I leave those comments on my, I don't delete any comments, whether they're good or bad, whether you criticize me or criticize whatever I'm talking about. I'm a free speech proponent. I don't monitor or get offended at what people say to me or the content. But yeah, there's there's a ton of hate. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, okay, well, that's your opinion. Yeah, and part of me was thinking, is it Google specifically that they don't like? I don't know. I mean, I guess, but if those couple of things are really going to get people fired up, I'm like, so what happens if they really do something, I mean, crazy, right? I mean, look, we're going to look at some new benchmark scores here in a second, and it's actually surprising. You're actually going to be surprised by some of these numbers, and I got some other devices we can compare it to. In a device that it actually beat, that I actually love, which is kind of shocking. And now again, benchmark scores don't tell everything about a device. Yeah, we all get that, but as far as just raw performance, not that bad. 4 years in a row with price increase. No, wait, hang on. So with this 200 charging cycle thing, I guess we're not, honestly, I would hate to think that they're going to keep that for the foreseeable future. They said they would, so if we have to take their word for it, it is what it is. I'm not happy about that, obviously, but God, just make it optional. That's all I'm saying. Make it optional up to like 365 charging cycles. Let us, at least for those of us that like to upgrade yearly, at least let us get through the first 365 days, and then you can force the charging cycle thing. 200 charging cycles is like barely breaking in your phone. That's like it's like if you get a new car, it's like you're barely putting 1,000 miles on it. You know what I'm saying? It's barely any usage. It comes out to like 6 months. So just make it optional up until the first year. 4 years in a row with price increases without much corresponding benefit, worst in-class charging speeds, worst in-class battery size, you're going to be criticized. Yeah, and look, they can improve on that. And it's like a love-hate relationship with a lot of these companies. I'm not just singling out Google. They're the ones in forefront because they're launching a device right now. But I criticize Samsung heavily when the S26 Ultra launched, and it's a pretty freaking good device. But look, they have to make decisions. If you step in their shoes, they're trying to make a product to sell to consumers, and they're trying to make a profit on that product. So if they spec it out, they're going to cut in on their profit, right? So I get having to nix a piece of hardware, or maybe not go with the very best, maybe go with a step under the very best, so you can still make a profit, and then the phone still performs as expected. And again, you got to remember, we're like, I'm talking about you and I, we're like tech nerds. So we look at every spec, every spec on the spec sheet, and they're like, the average user, I have to remind myself this, the average user is not like myself, right? So I get it, and I think they know that they catch heat for maybe not putting in UFS 4.1, right? Maybe they just put in 4.0, and they're thinking, well, the average consumer is not going to know a difference. And there may be 5% of our consumer base that criticizes us for us, but whatever. I think they're kind of going on that route. So yeah, the Pixel's not the very best phone. If you want a spec'd out phone, if you want the very best specs, you're gonna look elsewhere. But in a vacuum, just using the device day to day, it's going to be a pretty good phone. I already know that because I've been a lifelong Pixel user. So I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to get, or what we are going to get here with this Pixel 11 series. And I think it's going to be an overall good phone. So I think it's just now that I'm starting to realize, even though Google said this all along, they're not out to chase specs. I think it's just right now that I'm starting to take them for their word. It's only been 11 years. I personally think that all the tension might be coming from the fact that phones are available in America are getting people upset, especially when outside the country offers everything. Yeah, and it's just and it could be as simple as just offering physical SIM card support outside of the US. Why is it just us that has to use eSIM? I know my channel is eSIM Studios. I get it. We all like eSIMs for what they are, but damn, what about the people that love both, right? Want physical. It sucks. I absolutely hate it that they're limiting us just to one thing. I want options. We want options, and it's never going back. It's never going back. In fact, it's going to be going the eSIM route moving forward. We just have to figure out which company is going to force eSIM only on us next. I don't know why Google's still doing the 2-hour charging cycle stupidity. Me either. Like I said, just give us at the very least, give us 365 before you do anything to the charging. I think it shits on the consumer that upgrades yearly, like myself, maybe like you. I think they overreacted to their 6A battery swelling issue, and they're essentially limiting their current users to some old technology that they had in a 4-year-old phone, that their battery swelled up, because that's what initiated this whole charging cycle thing. Is the 6A, a number of users had their batteries swelling, and essentially forced people to stop using that phone because they super limited the 6A. I think they literally cut the charging speeds in half and only capped the battery at 50%. So and they sent because my dad had that phone, and he said, well, they're sending me a notification that, I don't know, they notified quite heavily users of the 6A that there were issues, and that they recommended that they upgrade to a newer Pixel phone and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't either. We're gonna get into that. So there are 2 devices. Your cousin going from a Pixel 5 to 11 Pro XL, big upgrade for him. Yo, he still has a Pixel 5. That's crazy. I know that stopped getting updates a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, we had the Pixel 5. Well, like I said, we've had all of them. It was a decent phone. That was the last year. When did they have was that the last year for Qualcomm? I think it was. It was a decent phone. It felt a little cheap, right? Because it was all plastic basically. And then I think it's when they moved to the 6 is when they went to glass back and the kind of current style. So if you're in the United States, what's going on, brother? If you're in the United States, you now have another option. I know it seems like moving forward, phones have left the US market, some left the global market because of rising costs. And let's face it, it makes it harder to make a profit when you're selling an item, especially a high price item, and especially if you're importing it into the United States, you get taxed heavily. Prices for your hardware, for your suppliers, shooting through the roof. So it's essentially they can't make a profit. That's why they're pulling out of the US market specifically, but some global markets. Well, now we have a new option, and that option is FairPhone. Now, I've always seen FairPhone in online articles. I don't even think I've seen a YouTube review of this FairPhone. Looks decent, but they just launched, available right now today, the FairPhone Generation 6. Gen 6. So we're going to pull up the specs. We're going to check it out. We're going to see what they're packing. Pause. We're going to see how much it costs. And is it a viable option for you? Because you never know, it might be, right? So let's go ahead and pull up. I already got everything loaded for you today, so we don't have to waste any time. FairPhone Gen 6. Where did it go? Yo, why can't I get these? What is going on? Yeah, there we go. Okay, FairPhone Gen 6. Let me move this over here and let me pull up my screen here. Okay, we got it. So they look, you right off the bat, you see the price, $649. And you see the style with her holding it up to her ear. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad looking phone. And look at it. I'm talking about style wise. We'll get to the specs in a second, but just the style. So check this out. So here's what it looks like. First off the bat, I love the color. I love blue and yellow combination. I love that color combo. So I think that's good. Secondly, what about the camera? If you're one of those users, I love aesthetics. I love the way stuff looks, layouts, designs. I'm an artist at heart, but you're kind of limited to what you can style your smartphone as. And I know some people are probably like, well, what are you talking about? Well, the way you place your camera placement, the way it looks on the back, the way it looks, right? Because Samsung's got all the way down the left side, I'm talking about the camera sensors. Apple's got the triangle. Wow, why does my camera keep on doing this? Yo, seriously? Oh my goodness. I swear, if it's not one thing, it's another. So hang on one second. Jesus, I'm gonna have to edit this out. How does this work? It's hand movement. Y'all gotta give me a second. This stuff drives me crazy. I'm pulling up my camera settings. Give me a second. Finally. Where were we? I guess I shouldn't talk with my hands. All right. So, camera wise, you can't have the cameras go down the left side. Samsung has that look. You can't have the triangle, which they kind of have it in a triangle, but everybody knows what the iPhone looks like, where it looks like this, like the case, right? You got those 3 triangles just like that. You can't copy them. And Google has them all across the top, right? So I see why they placed the camera sensors like they did. Makes sense to me. So I think it looks good, right? So it passes the looks test, and I mean, it doesn't look bad. It could look worse, right? Look at Nothing. The Nothing Phone 3, an absolute horrid looking device. So it looks better than the Nothing Phone 3. I'll give you that. But it looks decent, right? So you're saying, okay, upon first thought, I like the color. I think it only comes in one color combination. No. I take that back. They have green, black, and blue, right? $649. Now let's go down some of these specs, because I know some of you might be interested. Some might not, but we're going to fly through these. Another thing you see right off the bat, I'll give it to their marketing department. I think they do a good job of, it's my first time ever visiting their website, ever looking into one. I've always heard of them, but never looked into it. I'm not a mid-range phone buyer. I guess I make exceptions for the Nothing Phone 4A Pro and the 3A, but those only get service with T-Mobile. I don't even consider them a good option at this point, because only one carrier works with them. But hopefully FairPhone doesn't have that issue. I've never heard of anybody using one, but maybe if you have, please let me know in the comments below. Right off of the bat, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. That's good news, because I heard on the Gen 5 it only had 8 gigs of RAM. So unlike Google, who's reducing the amount of RAM, at least in the base models, they give you 12 gigs right off of the bat. They actually increase theirs. Now, I'm sure the price went up. I don't know how much the 5th generation cost. I'm assuming it was less than $650, probably $599 or $549. So I'm sure it came with a price increase as well. But what else are you getting with that $650? Well, you're getting a 5-year warranty. Now, it has an asterisk by the warranty, so who knows what that really means. But it's got 12 replaceable spare parts with high ease of repairability. Sustainable design with support until 2033. I don't know what sustainable design means. Are they talking about software support until 2033? Who knows? But I like the fact that they display its repairability. Sort of like the framework laptop. I've always wanted a framework laptop. Never pulled the trigger on one. And if you're unfamiliar with what a framework laptop is, it's essentially a laptop where it's very user friendly when it comes to upgrades. So if you buy a framework laptop and 3 years down the line, you're like, you know what, I need a new, stronger CPU. Well, you can go buy a CPU and take the old one out, pop the new one in. If you need more storage, it's all expandable. Keyboard, I think, is expandable. Essentially, not every single thing is replaceable or upgradable, but a large portion of that device is. Now, you can't necessarily upgrade the storage in the FairPhone. You can't necessarily upgrade the display or the CPU, but at least they let you replace the battery on your own. If you go on hikes a lot, if you go on vacations a lot, if you're out of the house a lot, out of the office a lot of time, you can buy. That was a good thing back in the day when you had replaceable batteries. If you know you're not going to be around a charger for a long period of time, you can go buy an extra battery or 2 batteries, charge them up in anticipation for you leaving the house or the office, and then you got your phone with a full battery plus 2 spare batteries in your bag. That's pretty dope, because I don't think any other phone offers that. So it does have that going for it, right? That's pretty cool. Now it says delivers in 2 to 6 days, so it is available right at this moment. 14-day free trial. Let's check carrier compatibility and we'll run through the rest of the specs. So it does not work on Verizon. It only works on T-Mobile and AT&T. So that goes for T-Mobile MVNOs as well. That goes for AT&T MVNOs as well. And it says 5G. It says local tower density in the deployment of standalone and non-standalone 5G. Okay, yeah, we get that. Supported T-Mobile. Okay, so that's good. Here on their website, I wish nothing would do this. Of course, theirs would look embarrassing. It's probably why they don't do this, because only T-Mobile would be supported. But it gives you, so if you don't have a traditional carrier like a T-Mobile, let's say you have Mint Mobile, well, you can go on here and, oh yeah, it'll work. Metro, oh yeah, it'll work. So, well, I guess it only fully works with T-Mobile's, and AT&T, it only partially works. Interesting. So it probably does not support all the bands. Yeah, and that's exactly what it says down here. Probably should have looked at the website before I started talking, but it's answering all the questions. So whoever works for FairPhone, if you're watching this or if you watch this after we are live, I want to congratulate you, because your website, this is the first time I've ever visited your website, and you're answering all my questions right off of the bat. So I think whoever built and or constructed this website did a fantastic job. They're answering a ton of questions right off of the bat. So that's good to see. Now let's get back to some specs, because that's what everybody wants to see. So there's 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and guess what? Supports a micro SD card. Wow, what do you know? That's another way these companies can mitigate the increase in the storage costs. Look, I don't have to have a 512 or 1 terabyte. Give me a 256 gig, but let me have expandable storage and I will provide the extra storage. I'm okay with that, quite honestly. I haven't used expandable storage in an Android device in years, so I don't know what apps allow you to save app data in expandable storage. I know some do and some don't. I just don't know, did most of them jump off of that expandable storage train and it's device on device only, or now that the memory costs are going sky high and people are looking for expandable storage to take from device to device, are these apps and these developers going to allow us to store more app data in this external storage? I have no clue. I hope it goes that route. But it says up to 2 days of battery life. Now I got to scratch my head at that. It's got a 4,400 milliamp hour battery. Now, is that 2 days of battery life? Is that on one charge? Is that on one battery? Because I think that's probably pushing it. Now, let's see what else it's packing. Software support until 2033. Powered by Snapdragon 7S Gen 4. Now, this is the same CPU that's in the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. Same CPU. It's actually right about the same price as well. So it's not bad by any means. In fact, it'll allow you to do anything you want to do on your phone to a certain point. But I mean, just basic usage, you'll be fine. If you're a gamer, if you want to edit these 4K videos it's claiming it'll shoot with its 50 megapixel main sensor, I don't know. I mean, it will do it. It'll just take all day probably. But you can get away with that. It's a decent mid-range CPU, right? It's not trash by any means. A brilliant 120 hertz. Now this is a little smaller 6.3 inch OLED display, water resistant, military grade, drop tested. It's probably all plastic. Probably all plastic, but that's okay. Easy to replace, up to 12 spare parts. 12 parts. So let's see. Dude, I get all of this. LTPO AMOLED. Resolution is 1116 by 2484, so 431 ppi. It's relatively high for a mid-range phone. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad by any means. Aspect ratio 20:9, refresh rate from 10 to 120, brightness up to 1400 nits. Kind of low in today's world, but what do you expect? It's a mid-range phone. Wow, they put a 10-bit display on here. So remember at the beginning of the show when I said I was shitting on Samsung at the very beginning of the S26 series launch? This is why. It's because Fairphone puts a 10-bit display on a $650 phone, and Samsung only put a 8-bit display on their $1,500 phone. Yeah, little stuff like that, Samsung. Let's see what else we got. HDR10, cornering glass, Gorilla Glass 7i, olophobic anti-fingerprint, 240 hertz touch sampling rate. Let's see, PWM dimming at 1440 hertz below 90 nits, DC dimming above, always on display, 84.1% screen to body ratio. And this is going to be a little on the smaller side. Remember, 6.3. So what kind of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi do we have? Let's see. It has 6E and 5.4. Not too bad. It's what I would expect from a mid-range phone. Now look at this. Google. Battery health. More than 1,000 cycles at 80% of normal capacity. Interesting. It looks like a decent mid-range phone. Fast charging, 27 watts, 30 peak. 50% 30 minutes, 80% in 45 minutes, or 100% in 85 minutes. It has fast charging. What else we got? OTG, charging temperatures, wireless charging not supported. Rear cameras, 50 megapixel, Sony Lyca LYT 700C. What else we got? Video capture 4K 30 at 4K at 30, 1080p at 30 and 60, and 720 at 30 and 60. Slow motion 1080p at 120 and 720p at 240 frames per second. Ultra wide 13 megapixel sensor, OmniVision OV13B10. Okay, what else we got? Front camera 32 megapixels, Samsung KDI. Yeah, that's a budget sensor. I mean, look, it's gonna be it's a mid-range phone. What more do you want, right? For $650. Here's the question I want to know. Are you buying this or something like this, or would you rather spend the $650 on a OnePlus 13? Or would you rather spend the $650 on an S25 Plus? Right? Because you can find them. You can find them. And I know there was somebody in the comments saying, I don't like to buy used phones. I get that. I don't mind as long as they're not beat up. In fact, I've purchased a number of used phones. That necessarily doesn't bother me, but I know everybody's different. But if you want my personal opinion, just in the last few years, how these devices, is seemingly every flagship device, at least in the Android world, is now getting 6, maybe 7 years of updates. And OnePlus did 5 years of updates. Me personally, I would rather use and or purchase a used 1, maybe 2-year-old flagship phone. So that, again, that's going to put you right in around the OnePlus 13 models, maybe a OnePlus 15R. Because here's the thing. You're getting flagship specs, and it's all little things that you're still getting even in a 1-year-old phone, possibly 2-year-old phone. You're getting Wi-Fi 7. It beats this Wi-Fi 6E. You're getting Bluetooth, some 6.0, which beats this 5.4. You're getting a flagship display that'll go up to, 3,000 nits when this goes up to what? 1,300. You're going to get all flagship, supposed to be, flagship camera sensors in some of these flagships, while this has mid-range sensors. You going to get more power when it comes to the CPU, the GPU, all that good stuff. So I purchased a Nothing Phone 4a Pro. I was very excited for that. And I quickly reminded myself of why I don't buy mid-range phones. I quickly reminded myself, I'm like, why did I do that? If you're used to using flagship phones, buying something like this would be a downgrade, but I get it. I get it. I get it. Times are tough. Maybe you don't have the financial situation where you can be buying a flagship. This will do. Look, this is a nice basic phone, right? Good phone for kids. If you have a teenager, maybe it's their first phone, this would be a good one. Maybe if you have a parent that's getting up there in age, this would be a good phone, right? Aunts or uncles, grandparents, that's who I recommend these phones for. I don't necessarily recommend these for the tech enthusiasts, so to speak, because once you buy them, you're quickly reminded that it's not quite the same as a flagship phone. All you got to do is basically turn it on and you remind yourself the vibration motor feels real clunky, and you're like, wow. So it is what it is, right? It's a $650 phone. Now, there's another phone that is going to give us options for the US buyers. And what is that? That's the S26 FE. What do you know? The fan edition S26 right around the corner. Apparently, it's right around the corner. So Samsung just recently got the Samsung Galaxy Tab S12 series. Got those Bluetooth certified, FCC certified. And now this one's up next to get certified. And I believe they're going to launch the Tab series, the new Tab S12 series, and the FE S26 FE phone. I think they're going to launch them at the same time. Now, they're not going to have a launch event, an unpacked event for these devices, but they'll just put a press release out, and then they'll be up for sale on their website. Now, I know I put a video out a couple months ago shitting on the FE model, basically dogging it. Why would you buy this thing? And then I seemingly had all the S25 FE owners in my comments dogging me because they said it was a good phone. I'm like, whatever. But this is just another example of why I was never going to buy a flagship phone. Now, I get it. Sometimes T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, if you're in the United States, will offer this S26 FE with like no money down, or they essentially just give them for free. I get it, right? I'm not going to dog you for that. Everybody's situation is different. But if you have an option, if you have a choice, I'm not touching this thing. Now, let's go through the specs and see if they've made any improvements in the specs, because for Samsung, there has to be some level of difference between a mid-range phone, the FE model, and a flagship model. They've been criticized of making too many phones, too many models. They crisscross each other. Well, right off of the bat, you see it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Exynos 2500, it's not the worst CPU. That's what was in the Flip 7. But again, it's nowhere near what their Snapdragon counterpart is. Hell, it's not even the Exynos 2600, which should be even better. Of course, I guess that's technically a flagship CPU, but Exynos 2500, look, they're trying to get rid of all their Exynos stock. Nobody wants them, so they figured, we'll throw them in the FE. I personally would rather get a 1-year-old flagship, like in this case, Samsung's launching the S26 FE. I know the better option at a same price is the S25 Plus. S25 Plus, you'll be far more satisfied. You'll have flagship specs, and it'll perform night and day better than this thing. I purchased one FE model a few years ago and swore to myself I will never buy another FE ever again. I was like, damn, this sucks, man. I was like, why do people buy these? It's the RAM. Now, it's not the only issue, but with me, that was a issue. It got bogged down, buffering, laggy, right? It was not a good user experience. And I immediately put it down, hopped on. I think at that time I had the S24 Ultra. Immediately got on the S24 Ultra, boom, like jumping in a Ferrari. This thing's chugging along like a dump truck. You know what I'm saying? So let's real quick before we move on. Let's see. It's basically going to be a refresh. Now, when I say refresh, they're essentially carrying over specs from the previous year. It's not going to have a lot of RAM, and the CPU is limited, right? And remember, it doesn't have a Snapdragon modem in here. So you're not going to be getting T-Mobile's new 5G network, AT&T's new 5G network, just not getting the very best. Let's see, Wi-Fi. Does it have Wi-Fi 7? I doubt it. Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.4. What do you know? It says silicon carbon. Yeah, y'all see that? 4,900 milliamp per hour silicon carbon battery. Interesting. They didn't do that, but that looks about it. So, take it for what you will. Look at this person. I'm not sure you're going to justify buying this over an S25 Plus. What did I say? I promise I didn't read this. I pre-show found this article, clicked it, loaded it up into StreamYard. We think alike. Yeah. So I would stay away from these. That's just my opinion. Get a used flagship phone, a 1-year-old. Maybe you can look, even if you don't like buying used stuff, I get it, but you're going to be a lot happier using a good 1-year-old flagship over something like this. Because yeah, sure, it may work fine in the first 6 months, or maybe in the first 3 or 4 months. As soon as you load a ton of apps on it, as soon as you load data on it, as soon as you load it up with everything you use, it's going to get bogged down. It just is. And then you're going to kick yourself. Let's see here. No FirstNet band 14 on AT&T, no band 29 or 30. Yeah, I saw it was missing a good chunk of those. And it sucks. That's what you got to deal with. But that's the other thing too. And look, I'm not inside behind the lines or behind the curtains with these phone companies, but they're limiting themselves. Because look, if you're a potential buyer to this Fairphone and you see that, wouldn't you be, I wouldn't be all in. I mean, if you had T-Mobile, go for it. But if you had any other carrier, yeah, I'd have a hard time, making that purchase when there's other options out there that get full AT&T frequencies and bands, right? So that was big gripes with nothing. I'm like, how do you expect to sell a phone when only one carrier works? Like what are we doing here? I'm not trying to defend Samsung, but I'd rather have a Qualcomm Snapdragon cut corners on the display rather than cutting corners on modem or CPU. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. If you have to, you choose one or the other, you're probably right. In fact, I don't have any issues. S26 Ultra is a really nice phone. Like, I don't even think about that stuff when I'm using it. It's only when I'm doing this that I remind myself it's a fantastic phone. I know a lot of people don't like Samsung and/or the S26 Ultra. I really don't have any complaints. I would spend $600 on a OnePlus 13R. Yeah, I would too. You can even get, I think the 16. Now, excuse me, not the 16. You can get the OnePlus 13 right around $650 right now. So that's a pretty good comparison when it comes to flagship phone or mid-range phone. I'd rather have the OnePlus. I think the 13R destroys the phone. I think on everything, it destroys it. Every line on the spec sheet probably. What's going on, man? You had the F21 FE. It lasted 3 years and it was solid. I don't hate them, but these phones, when I get cold, they die on the spot. Interesting. Yeah, mine was probably a 22 FE. I think that's what I had. Now, my workflow, what I normally do on my phones, I'm used to having a flagship phone. So I think on my end, I mean, look, it'll work and work well if I think you know how to use it. Like, I never close any of my apps. I got all sorts of crap open. I probably just bogged it down with my normal usage. I thought I could use it like a normal phone. Probably have to be more diligent with watching how many apps you have open in the background, with storage and this and that, and plus the camera. I mean, they don't suck, but it's certainly not quote unquote flagship. It's certainly not flagship. Now, before we get out of here, look at this. So maybe this is new, maybe it's not, but I wanted to show you something. Dan, you got 10? That's a nice little collection you got there. I think I had, when was it? 2 years ago, I had almost 10. I think I had 8. You got to sell a couple to buy a couple, if you know what I mean. But look at this. So we have new scores, I think. Well, maybe not new scores, but look at this. So this is the 10 Pro XL. That's the S26 Ultra. And here's the Pixel 11 Pro XL. So this is the Pixel 11 Pro XL. Now, all of these benchmark scores are Geekbench 7. So remember, they're going to be lower than what we're used to on Geekbench 6. But I want you to take a look at something because I just tested this right before I went live. So maybe we had those numbers. I can't remember. No, we had this one earlier. We had this listing. Now, this was from, that's why I didn't know if the person that listed this in Reddit, I didn't know if we could trust these scores, meaning like, it looks like he just typed it up. He could have typed anything he wanted to. So that's why I was like, I don't know if I'm going to really go off of that, but I remember putting it on display just so we could have something. But obviously, as each day goes on, more people are getting their phones, more people are testing, more people are posting their results, which is what we're going to do here in the next couple of days. But here is an exact result from Geekbench 7. Geekbench 7. That's the Pixel 11 Pro XL, 2293 single core, 7108 multi-core score. Pretty good. It's so good, in fact, I was like, wait a second. I was like, I know that just did not beat my Motorola signature. I was like, there is no way. Because this signature, the signature is a little beast. It's not the elite variant of Qualcomm Snapdragon 8, but it's right under it. Like, I don't have any issues with anything. So I was like, I know this just didn't beat my signature, right? And so what did I do? I chose to run a Geekbench 7 benchmark right before I went live just to make sure I wasn't tripping. Well, I wasn't tripping. I was right. So look at these scores. Geekbench 7, Pixel 11 Pro XL, 2293 single core, 7108 multi-core score. Now look at this screenshot I just took of the signature running the very same benchmark test. What the hell is going on? 1331 single core score and 6632 multi-core score. So you're telling me on benchmark, I know this is a benchmark, but you're telling me on benchmark, the Pixel 11 Pro, dare I say, blew away the Motorola signature? Whoa. What the hell? What the hell is going on? I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I said, what the freak? What is going on? Good news, I guess, for Pixel users. And again, I always have to make a disclaimer because I know there's always going to be somebody in the comments, benchmarks don't mean everything. I get that, right? We all know that by now, so you don't have to tell us. But it's like a sports car. You buy a sports car, all right? If you're in the market for a Corvette, a brand new C8 Corvette, or maybe, I don't know, a new Tesla, right? And you look at them I was going to say the magazines. I'm going to tracking, what is it? Car or Road and Track. I was going to date myself. But you look up online, the specs, what do they show you? 0 to 60 in quarter mile on all sports cars. That's essentially what a benchmark test is, right? It's telling you how fast it'll go. It's telling you how it'll perform at its maximum output. Well, that's what a benchmark score is. A 0 to 60 is not going to tell you how it drives around the corners, or when you're just cruising doing the speed limit at 30, or in a school zone 20 miles an hour. It's not going to tell you how it drives, if it's smooth, if the suspension is really tight and rough. No, it doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you what's the maximum performance this can do. That's like a 0 to 60. That's like a benchmark score. So the benchmark scores are telling us what's the maximum performance, right? And that's what this gives us. It's not going to give you how it feels, how fast the apps open up, how smooth it is. Oh, I like the animations. Wow, as soon as I push an app, it's boom, it's popping right up. So it's not going to tell you that. But it is something, right? It just shocked me. Now, let's take a look at what the Pixel 10 Pro XL did last year. So here's the Pixel 10 Pro XL on Geekbench 7. You got a single core score of 2010 versus a multi-core score of 5923. And when I saw this one, I was like, that still beat the Motorola Signature. So maybe I need to put a asterisk in here myself with these scores, because maybe the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 in the Signature, maybe it's not, because you got to remember, Geekbench 7 is a brand new app. It's brand new, updated from them. Maybe the developers from Motorola, maybe the Qualcomm, something in there is just not fully optimized for new Geekbench 7 tests. I don't know. Take it for what you will. But let me show you what the S26 Ultra did. Pretty good. Scores 3082 on single core, and 10,381 multi-core score. So that's the S26 Ultra. And then here's the Pixel 11 Pro XL. 2293, 7108. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not crap like everybody was giving it when it first... I'm not going to lie, when the first benchmark results came out, even I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe Google's doing this to their flagship phone. It even had me like, oh god, rolling my eyes like, oh great, here we go again. So look, it's better. And if you're making your decision on whether to buy the phone or not buy the phone on benchmark results, it's probably not, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to base my purchase just solely alone on benchmark results. Now, I would possibly not buy a phone only on benchmark scores if it was like jaw-dropping low scores, which I'm not going to lie. The first scores that came out for this Pixel 11 series wasn't far away, because I was like, god dang, that's bad. But as time, few days have rolled on, we're what, 6 days since the launch, and there's been some better scores come out. So, if that makes you feel better about buying it, it's making you feel better about buying it. So, I think it's pretty good. So we'll have to see. But for official results, I'm going to take my official, thesis of the performance of it once we get ours in here in a few days. Now, we're not just going to do Geekbench. I really want to put it under the 3D Mark testing, the stress testing, the long benchmark test. Some of those take like 20 minutes. I want to do that, see how it handles under higher temperatures, and see if it scales down within the thermal throttling. That's what I want to see. Because, you can, test this out, and it's only like couple minute test. No, I want to do the 20-minute test where the heat ramps up and see what it does. So we will certainly test that here in a couple days. So it's like the OnePlus 15 does bad in Geekbench but performs well in real life. I mean, it's not bad. The S26 Ultra, I think the last few times I've run benchmarks on them, the S26 Ultra has beaten the OnePlus 15, and traditionally the OnePlus 15 or the OnePlus flagship device dating, the 13, the 12, traditionally they're usually will always beat my Samsung. But you know, it may just have to do with how they tweak the operating system. So as long as it's up there, I don't really care about, oh, my Samsung beat the OnePlus 15. Oh my God. I don't really care. As long as they're up there and they're relatively close to each other, I think that's a good result, good output. Um, so you got that going for you. Let's do this. Let's do a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway. Let's hashtag gift, and let's get out of here. Hashtag gift in the chat, flash giveaway, and we'll get you out of there on that. So while y'all put hashtag gift in the chat, I'm gonna get it set up. Now, if you're watching this on TikTok and you would like to enter the giveaway, I'm gonna need you to go over to YouTube. Go to the YouTube app. I know you don't want to get off TikTok. I know it sucks you in. It does that to me too. Go just for 30 seconds. Jump on YouTube and search eSIM Studios. Once you search eSIM Studios in YouTube, you'll see our channel pop up, right? Click on the live stream, go to the live chat, and then type in hashtag gift, hashtag GIFT, and I'll run a flash giveaway. TikTok's weird with StreamYard. There's like no way to link it up. So I got to run my StreamYard on a computer and TikTok live on an iPhone. Sucks. It is what it is. Yeah, let's get out of here. I'll give you all a few seconds. And I thought I had something else to give away. Oh yeah, I gave away some cases yesterday. I think I have some extra cases. Hold on. Well, I know I have extra cases. Did anybody buy the Z Fold 8 Ultra that's watching? Did anybody buy the Z Fold 8 Ultra? I have a couple cases here that I can send to you for free. And I just gave well, I still need to ship them, but I gave one of our viewers a whole bunch of S26 Ultra cases. Is that everybody? All right, let's run the. Let me set this up. I've been talking too much. All right, you ready? Congratulations to you, sir. J. Diaga 70. I'm horrible with names. I apologize. Congratulations. You are the lucky winner on today's giveaway. Do me a favor. Email me esimstudios@gmail.com. esimstudios@gmail.com. My email is also listed in the video description down below in the description box. You can expand that and you can see the contact information. Email me and I'll get with you behind the scenes here shortly and send you Cash App or Amazon gift card. Congratulations. And if you did not win, stick around because I have a feeling I'm going to do another one here probably in a couple days. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in 2 days, 3 days, who knows. But it's one of the benefits of subscribing to the channel is I give back to you, the viewer, YouTube revenue. So anyways, let me get out of here. I appreciate your time. greatly. I really, really do. It does mean a lot. So thank you very much. We're also going to get the Pixel 11 Pro XL, Pro and Pro XL, I believe on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. We're going to do a bunch of testing. As I mentioned, when I get them, we're going to do an unboxing. When I get them, we're going to do benchmarking. When I get them, probably on Friday, I'll probably get out and do some network testing and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to have case reviews. We're going to have all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a fun time. Yes, congratulations to you. So appreciate it. And please have a fantastic rest of the day. And as always, we will see you tomorrow. Peace. Good. Me too. Me too. I'm glad you got one as well, so we can be pixel buddies. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.